One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I have a dream that all men are created equal.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Two Doomed Men podcast, the greatest, ready? The greatest podcast in the history of the country, perhaps even the world by far. I don't think anyone comes close.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. It feels like it's been a while, but nonetheless, you are listening to the Two Doom Men, and it is your host, Scagz, and yours truly, the Captain. What's up, buddy?
Got to get back in the groove, Cap, of the intro. Yeah, it has been a while. It's been like 2 weeks since the last episode. But the Captain and I are back to talk about politics and the news. Bear with us here. It's a look. Captain might have a little bit of a connection lag, delay thing. We're trying to do the best we can.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong.
Coming to you a little bit early at dinner time tonight, 7 o'clock. You know, been a struggle the past couple of weeks for the Two Doom Men to get the news portion of the podcast done on time. Life has been busy. Both of our personal lives, but I've been also enjoying, man, like the fun stuff we've been doing with the guys, the reviews, the hanging out, the on location streams. We're going to be doing more of that stuff this year, like we said after the end of the past election cycle.
Can you?
Yeah, I hear you. I see you. Yeah, we got the delay here going.
Can you hear me? Is it coming through?
It's coming through. Yeah, you hear me?
Because otherwise I'm going to have to restart it again.
This is going to be a fun episode.
It just keeps. It's very shoddy. Yeah,
Sure.
This is goddamn.
You seem fine now. So I've been enjoying the stuff with the guys. We'll be doing more of that. We got a little camping trip coming up this weekend where we'll probably record some content while we're out there. We'll see. Drinking in inclement weather, as I like to call it. We were having a little fun at our
as we always do.
So, Cap, I don't know. We wanted to talk tonight about the first 100 days of Trump's 2.0 presidency. We're here. We're at the first 100 days.
Yeah.
We've been out of the game the past kind of like 3 weeks, or we've been out of sorts. So this is a good point, I think, to come back and give our thoughts on things that are going on. I'll let you take the lead, though, here, especially because I'll let you just take the lead, especially because the connection beat thing that we're having here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So hopefully this is coming through loud and clear to everybody. Yes, we're at the 100-day mark, and if you guys listened to the little Captain Samurai special we had a few weeks ago, I had a pretty crazy rant on how I'm not pleased with Donald Trump's second administration, and it's still continuing. I mean, just before I was on Instagram, and the SAVE Act is a simple bill that would not allow non-citizens to vote in our American elections was shot down. We're not securing the election system. We're not destroying the deep state. Tariffs are here, then they're gone. We're walking them back. Are they good? Are they bad?
The tariff
the
thing,
only real success that I'm seeing is.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that the tariff thing is interesting. I haven't had time to really comment on that. Even from my point of view, I like free markets. I like capitalism. I'm willing to entertain the idea of using a tariff as either a means to get a better deal from another country, like use it as a way to bully another country, or like the threat of a tariff. I'm okay with entertaining the idea of using a tariff to bring manufacturing back to the United States. I do think manufacturing is important. I don't think it's good.
That's why I like it.
Right, but that doesn't seem to be exactly what's going to happen here.
You can thank Obama for that.
Or just I'm saying how they've even deployed the tariffs. I saw when the tariffs were coming out, I saw a lot of people being like, this is what it's going to do. It's going to bring the manufacturing back. And then when some of the other countries changed their tunes, these same people on the internet were like, you see, this is 4D chess by Trump. He's getting them to in order to lower their tariffs. I'm like, wait a minute, but I wanted the tariff in order to like long term bring back some manufacturing. It seems like a lot of you guys are just doing one of these, and whichever way the wind goes,
coping.
Yeah,
coping.
Is how you're going.
There's a huge cope for it all. I mean, we have this undenying, undying allegiance to Israel.
You're breaking up a little bit here, Captain.
And I'm just going to keep and.
I say,
I know.
You could just keep rolling, but I think you could tell kind of when you're losing your connection.
I don't know what to do, man.
At the same time, I know both of us have gripes. I thought your rant a couple weeks ago was really good. I also don't want to be in this negative world all the time, and it just
and then also look at everybody else. What is Pete? We had this big problem. At Handar, he's promoting $1 trillion military spending budget. Bondi, what is she doing? Kash Patel, what is he doing? RFK is finally getting, red dye number 5 foods. That's nice.
2 years from now.
But, what else has really taken place here?
Yeah.
What's 2 years from now?
Oh, the red dye thing. I also, I know you mentioned. So again, I don't want to just focus because it's easy for us to just shit on people. And I want to be a little bit different here. So I just saw this in regards to Kash Patel that came out before we started recording. This got posted by the Office of Public Affairs, Department of Justice. It says leaders of 764 arrested and charged for operating global child exploitation enterprise. Leonidas Varagianis, also known as War 21, a citizen of the U.S. residing in Thessalonica, Greece, High Point, North Carolina, are charged for their crimes operating an international child exploitation enterprise in connection with a nihilistic violent extremist group known as 764. Nepal was arrested on April 22nd in North Carolina. Okay, so I mean, there's a positive. I don't want to just focus on negative stuff. They are targeting some of these things that the previous administrations were ignoring. Child, sex exploitation rings and things like that, which like bizarrely were being ignored. And if you brought up the point of them, you were deemed a right-wing conspiracy theorist extremist. Do you remember when the movie came out?
Anti-Semitic.
Or remember the Sound of Freedom movie? How they made it out to seem like it was a crazy thing. So I'm glad to see. Again, I don't want to focus on only the negative. There are some good things happening that are just common sense. That is a common sense good thing that Kash Patel is working on. But yes, I agree. My criticism of them has been like, I want, go after the child exploitation rings. Of course, that is a primary concern of mine. However, the child exploitation rings most likely are also tied to government. I'd like you to go after those people and like the Epstein ring and however that was, related. So go ahead. I can hear you now. I think you're going to get connection. Go for it.
So I got a question for you.
Sure.
All right, so we'll do this quick. I got a question for you. What do you think of Doge? Because we had this big hit. We had this big hit on USAID, and I mean, I still think it's being funded. What's the next group they're going after? Are they auditing the IRS? What's Elon doing? Is he destroying democracy, or is this just another nothing burger? This is what frustrates me so much about Trump 2.0 is you have this favorable mandate to go in there, and we're not doing anything.
Yeah, or not putting it in as permanent and putting pressure in order to get that done. I think Doge was amazing. It came out of the gates hot. Remember when we had Alan on? And we're like, this is crazy. Every day we're getting like a win, and Trump and the team are putting the other side on their back foot every single day. The thing is, though, like now that time has passed, yes, it's great. USAID has been closed. And Elon set forward this goal of we're going to like reduce the budget by $2 billion or $2 trillion, whatever it is. But the more you look into it, it's like Congress hasn't locked in any of those cuts in terms of spending. There's going to be a big spending battle coming up in September. I've told you before that's my cutoff date with Trump, where I'm not giving any more grace whatsoever. if you need to apply pressure and put these things, if you're going to actually drain the swamp, you have to cut spending and shrink the size of government. I saw Elon's announced he's kind of leaving Doge soon. So I'm not saying that he has to always physically be there, but like I thought he was one of the main positives of this thing. He is one of the richest, most smartest people in the world.
I know. And
momentum is being lost. Let's just put
yeah,
it that way.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I don't understand why he's leaving either. I mean, I could see though, if he leaves, the media has a little less to talk about and maybe they'd have a little more free reign, but like he was supposed to take the reins on this and I'm just God, it's just another thing about the Trump 2.0 administration that is just leaving me like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, like with Elon.
And on top of it, the funny thing, Trump's talking about running for a third term.
Why are we wasting time on that, right? Like, let's not even talk about that. What even is that, talking about third term? But even some criticism of Elon, like Elon comes in here and he rightfully so diagnoses the spending and the debt as a major problem that the country is facing, a dire problem, like a civilizational collapse sort of problem. He's diagnosed it on, and then at the same time, he's like, "I'm good, 100 days in, we're good now. I could just leave," without actually like having impacted any real like long-term lasting meaningful reform. I'm not saying he has accomplished anything, but you're selling it this as if we don't fix this, society is going to collapse, which he is correct, right? Which he is correct. But then he could just leave after 100 days and be like, I tried. What does it say about
new thing?
What does it say about even like future attempts at trying to fix this problem? Are people going to like dismiss it as not important or not serious? Because remember when Elon said this and he bounced after 100 days and not much changed or something like that. It's just I just don't like it. Look, another thing.
I was listening to Dave Smith, and with everything that we're saying, I hope down the road we're eating our words. A month from now, a year from now, we're coming back and going, boy, we were wrong about Doge. We were wrong about cash. We were wrong about Bondi, whatever. I really do hope we are. But right now, we're not getting much of what we voted for. I mean, we voted for the better of the two options. God knows if Kamala was in, we wouldn't be having this show right now.
We'd be pulled off the air. Right. There was, of course, right. Again, and let's use the context of Trump. It just reaches 100 days. He had a rally. What is he? He's 100 days of greatness. Again, he's selling it as 100 days of greatness. Where I'm not a Trump cultist. I'm just going to take it. I'm going to call it as I see it. I don't foresee how we're leading towards the path of greatness at the moment. I'm still reserving judgment altogether for some time. Maybe things will change a little bit, but I don't see any in order to achieve greatness without just saying the words, you need like radical change. And I am not seeing radical change, like long-term being implemented here. I'm seeing like a quick, as Vivek used to say, like I'm seeing like a chisel. Vivek used to say, like, first we need to come with a sledgehammer, then we'll come with a chisel later. I'm only kind of seeing a chisel so far by the Trump administration. Another thing is
I agree with you. And then also go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry, I know we're trying to navigate the delay here. Go ahead.
I know. We definitely talk about Ukraine, but also this weird thing that's taking place with Trump's followers is they have like this liberal like disorder going on where they just cope with everything that he's doing. Like they're not looking for any form of accountability from him. They're just, well, the tariffs are good, and then we walk back the tariffs. We'll see. We were just waters with, making up excuses.
Yeah.
Is coping. There's this large section of his base that is disenfranchised, and there's other sections that is just following him blindly and not asking for any accountability.
Yeah.
Mainly the
boomers. Give an example. Yes, of course, mainly the boomers. Another example of that is this new law just passed or is being passed in Congress about and I think Melania Trump championed it about like AI generated exploitative images, which obviously me and you don't like. I don't like the idea of it's been sold as like people can generate AI images of like child porn and stuff like that, or of like people like celebrities like doing sexual acts, and like essentially it's gonna like make that illegal. And I've seen like Thomas
Right.
Massey voting against it and being like, hey, why are we giving the government power over deciding what we can and can't generate with AI on the internet? Like, does anyone understand where this slippery slope goes down? That doesn't mean we support generating AI child exploitative content. Of course, nobody does. I'd argue that should be eliminated immediately from social media if it is created. But again, I saw people branding Massey as like, you're a pain in the ass. You're just getting in the way of every good thing Trump wants to do. And it kind of reminded, again, it's not exactly the same thing, but it kind of reminded me of like the Patriot Act times. You hate America because you ain't going to vote for the Patriot Act. And it's not exactly the same thing, but it's kind of starting to remind me that stupid fucking logic people were using back then. I'm not even talking about wars yet. I'm talking about other, just expansion of government, expansion of the things that it's involved in. We were trying to retract this or maybe stop it from growing temporarily. No, instead we're like finding new ways to give the government more power just in different regions. And then, I don't know, AI generated stuff like memers and shit use that. And you see how important memeing has been the past couple of years. It kind of like fighting against the machine. Now we're going to be the past
decade.
I don't know. You know how government is, slippery slope. How how long before, I don't know, we generate a funny meme with Grok and then it's like, you're going to jail now because it was about the next president or something like that. Who knows?
The only successful government is no government, as far as I'm concerned.
I've now turned the captain into an anarchist.
Watching, what I've been doing lately, and watching this administration just not pan out the way I want it to. Anarchism is seeping into my bones. I have to say.
Yeah. You understand that like the system is flawed. Now we can still sit here and like pick and choose what who we is better at holding the reins of the system, but there is a rot at the core of the foundational concept of the system. And like again, I'm not ever thinking we're going to have an anarchist society. I do not think it's actually possible. But if we can like make some radical changes back in that direction somewhat, that'd be great. And those are some of the things that Donald Trump and the team were kind of promising. Not anarchism, but like reform.
A reduction in force and size.
You just and I'm not seeing it. Okay, real quick.
Ukraine.
Here's also some breaking news that came out right before we started recording. So again, one of Trump's things was that he'd end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. Now, even to give him some credit, I acknowledge like that was a tough sell. Like in general, like it's a complicated legacy over there, as we've covered ad nauseum. Go read Scott Horton's book, Provoked, etc. Okay, so breaking news came out right before we started recording. U.S. Ukraine signed minerals deal, but U.S. might not see a big payoff. Representatives from the U.S. and Ukraine say they signed a long-awaited deal that will create a joint fund to assist in Ukraine's reconstruction and reportedly allow the U.S. some access to Ukraine's minerals after months of negotiations. Key facts. The agreement creates the United States Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund, which will be jointly managed with 50% of the revenues from new licenses in the field of critical material, oil, and gas in Ukraine being put into it, according to somebody in Ukraine's economic minister. A draft of the agreement seen by Reuters detailed the U.S. getting preferential access to new Ukrainian natural resource deals, the outlet reported Wednesday. The U.S. will also contribute to the fund through direct financial contributions and through military assistance to Ukraine, said in a post announcing the deal had been signed, also noting it is the Ukrainian state that determines what and where to extract. The Treasury Department said in a statement, the fund is in recognition of the significant financial and material support that the people of the United States have provided to the defense of Ukraine since Russia's invasion and will help accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The agreement appears to be similar to the original deal that was set to be signed in February and indicated Ukraine will put 50% of the proceeds from its state-owned mineral resources into a fund that would be jointly owned with the U.S., and there would not be security guarantees outlined for Ukraine. The deal originated after Trump indicated Ukraine would give the U.S. access to its minerals in return for the U.S. support of Ukraine in its ongoing war with Russia. Blah, blah, blah. So not only have we not actually achieved peace with Russia yet, it seems to me that this is a really fancily spun way at rationalizing and justifying from the Trump administration that we are going to be providing more aid to Ukraine in the long term. That's how it sounds to me. What is your analysis of this thing so far, Captain? Do you even hear what I said? I'm giving you the delay here.
Well, yeah, I did. I did hear. I've been waiting for so I can't believe how big this delay is.
Yeah,
All
it's a pretty long delay.
I heard of that was the money that Ukraine was laundering military aid through the reconstruction bill.
Yeah.
This camera, it will not allow me.
I think you're coming back. There you go. Sorry, folks. Yeah, so while the captain's getting his connection back here, I'll just say that I liked when Trump threw Zelensky out of the Oval Office back in February.
I did get an email the other day about Optimum having lookouts in my area.
Could have something to do with it, yeah.
Yeesh.
Let's see. Are you back? Yeah, sorry. All right. Okay, so I'll just keep talking here, Cap, while your connection tries to spool back up. Again, I thought that the original deal wasn't a good deal because it gave us access to materials.
I'm going to have to reset the router.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll BS here for a minute and give my thoughts while you do that. I'll shoot you a text. But, I didn't want to get involved. I didn't want to guarantee Ukraine defense in return for minerals that our government would get access to. I mean, who is actually going to get access to those minerals and benefit from this sort of deal? Some rich, connected, giant corporation or, person, I don't know, the major mining companies. Is that going to trickle down, as they say, to common folk? Maybe somewhat. People who work for those companies will get to keep their jobs or whatnot. But it's going to go to a handful of connected individuals. It very much so is in the same sort of realm as just military defense spending in general. That'll be used as an excuse by people like Lindsey Graham that, no, we have to, it's spending a whole ton of money on the military is actually good because it creates jobs and trickles down to people. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't actually in reality. It trickles down to a couple really connected people. And that's why you're also interested in making sure that the gravy train never ends. So I don't like this one. It doesn't sound like there is a peace deal coming with it, of course, which is the main point. Seems like we've just gotten more invested in Ukraine without there actually even being a peace deal. If a peace deal with Russia is actually maybe attached to something like this, it becomes a little bit more palatable for somebody like me. Okay, I don't know if this is what it took to get Zelensky and Ukraine over the line to agree to a peace, but it actually did involve a peace. Okay, I still don't like it, but that's better. But it seems like this is a fund Ukraine, get involved in the reconstruction of Ukraine and their economy, as I said it before. And I don't see how that will actually benefit anyone in America at the local level. Okay, I kind of want to go on to some other topics, but I also don't want to continue without the captain. He says that he is resetting his browser. So maybe I'll buy myself a minute here and we will play our old commercial for our buddy Alan and his cigar company.
What's up, everyone? It's the Two Do Men, and we're here to tell you about a partner of ours, the Patriot Cigar Company.
The Patriot Cigar Company's story started with the idea of incorporating the love of cigars with the love for freedom and America. There's no better way to celebrate our love for our country and freedoms we cherish than smoking a premium cigar. After months of trying out different blends and working with master blenders, they created the Hellfire, TNT, Sidewinder, Moab, and Mark 48, which we have right here. Each cigar is made with premium tobacco, aged a minimum of 3 years in Nicaragua.
This is a true story. I had really fallen off smoking cigars for a while, and I just couldn't find anything that I enjoyed or wanted to sit through until I was introduced to the Patriot Cigar Company, and these are honestly some of the best cigars I've smoked in a long time.
And the best part about it is you could go to mypatriotcigars.com and use our promo code DOOMED to get 15% off your order. So if you're ready to enjoy a nice cigar, head on over to their website by using the link in our episode description below. Yeah, go check out our episode with Alan a couple weeks ago, too. That was called The Mogul. He put out a new Trump cigar as well. Go check that out. Still a cool dude. We might disagree on a lot of things, but Alan's still a cool dude. Still keep it rolling. Captain's back right in the nick of time, right as soon as the commercial ended. I was ranting a little bit. Yeah.
It's one of those days where the old captain just can't get any technology to work.
Okay, so I ranted a bit about the Ukraine mineral deal. I don't like it. Think it guarantees more aid. What do you think? Give your thoughts.
We're now in bed with Ukraine even deeper. All I heard out of everything you read was that all the money that Ukraine gets to launder from military aid will be now laundered through the Reconstruction Act. I'm pretty sure, I'm like 95% certain that if you were to go back to the episode where we first spoke about this mineral deal that Ukraine and America has going on, I said straight up, this just sounds to me like, oh, we're going to stop sending them military aid, and now we're going to start sending them reconstruction aid. So, we're not going to be funding a proxy war. We're going to be funding the rebuilding of the nation. And God knows where all that money goes to. It just can't stand anymore. And there goes my internet again. All right.
Yeah, I agree. All right. And again, it's not what Trump ran on. He ran on peace and stopping aid, not like let's dress up aid in a way that our political online influencers can spin as 4D chess or something like that, right? Like this deal kind of sounds tailored to that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like just the way it's only been a few hours, so again, we'll come back to it maybe next week. Maybe we'll get some more details, but it just seems tailored that way. Any other thoughts before I move on to the next day? I want to go on to the video and stuff about the immigration and whatnot. Ready? Okay. So
yeah, let's move on.
I'm sure both of us will agree that the curtailing of incoming migration has basically stopped, and that's great. That is a major win. It also is kind of, I thought when Trump gave his State of the Union speech, he said it perfectly. All we needed was a new president. We didn't need any new laws or any new things. That's exactly what I'd like more of. We don't need new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to kind of mitigate or, reverse what we already have. And that's what has happened.
Do our job.
Yes, do our job. Okay, so at the same time, new immigration has stopped. However, we have not gotten mass deportations. We have gotten some deportations of violent criminals and things like that. And then we've gotten retarded deportations of people who are here legally and have spoken out about Israel. And I want to kind of contrast two cases regarding migration, deportation, one where I agree with Trump, one where I disagree with Trump. And I just kind of want to point out some inconsistencies and things like that amongst both. And Cap, just do the best we can here. If we could hear you or not or whatever. I'm going to play. Trump did a video. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Just play it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Trump did an interview last night on ABC, and he was asked about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I've posted about him in the past. He is a guy who got deported back to El Salvador. With a couple big thing a couple weeks ago. Captain and I didn't really do an episode about it. He was here illegally, and he was identified and deported. And he has been made out to be Maryland man, a family guy. We got to bring him home.
A suburban dad. Yeah.
Where the fuck? I'm sorry. Before I even play the video, I couldn't believe it when people were saying we got to bring him home. We sent him home. He came from El Salvador illegally. We picked him up and we sent him back over there. He's now home. Home is not where you are illegally. Yeah. It is where you belong, where you're from and where you belong legally. So the whole thing is preposterous to begin with. Rightfully so, he was deported. Trump, again, gave this interview the other day, and he was asked about this by this interviewer, and this was a good clip, and we'll talk a little bit more about it here in a moment.
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
Terry.
He did not
Don't
have the
do that.
letter MS13.
It says MS13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That
just.
was Photoshop. Terry, you can't
had-
do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay.
I knew
But
this
I
would
picked
come.
you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to
Terry,
move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
And you think it
agree
was
to disagree.
Photoshop? Well,
Here we go. Here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He
Fair
had
enough.
MS13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine,
No, no,
sir. I
Terry,
want to get to
Terry,
Ukraine.
no. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why
All right.
people no longer believe
Well,
the news because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They
Take
weren't
a look
there,
at the
but they're
photograph.
there now, right?
No,
But they're there
in your
now.
picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
he's got MS13 on his knuckles,
All right.
okay?
Well, we'll take a look.
It's you do
We'll take a
such a
look.
disservice.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something
It's
else?
contested.
Funny clip, as Trump is always funny. However, my criticism here is that, like, again, going back to the case in of itself, Trump, you are in the right here. This guy is a member of MS-13. However,
Mhm.
his hand does not actually
That
say
picture is, yeah.
it does not actually say literally the letters MS-13 on them. There are symbols that are symbolic of MS-13: marijuana, smile, a cross, which is symbolic of a 1, and 3 for a skull. And that's what the interviewer was trying to point out. And Trump was trying to say that it literally was MS-13 on it. You have a winning item here, but you're framing it as a losing item. You are lying. Why is Trump lying about this? He should have just given the context of it completely, like we just did. J.D. Vance would have done a tremendously better job in this regard had he been in this situation. And if you go to the government's actual website, they created a whole thing about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, about how he is an MS-13 gang member with a history of violence. You can go check it out for yourself. Records are there, how he was arrested with 2 other members of MS-13. When he was arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money covering the ears, mouth, and eyes of presidents on various money denominations. Is known as an MS-13 gang symbol of see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil. He was also arrested with he was found with rolls of cash and drugs. Okay, so the guy obviously is a criminal. He should be deported. But you're out there selling this in a losing way, lying. It's like you're relying on the influencers to carry the water for you in this regard all the time. Either that, maybe he actually doesn't know that aspect of the description of the hand was spelled out so people can understand, and he thought that was the actual tattoo on the guy's hand. I don't know, Kevin.
I really think that's what everybody believes, the MS-13 that's superimposed on his knuckles. I think this is the right call, deporting him. The guy is clearly MS-13, so there is a problem. And whether he was a suburban dad or MS-13, at the end of the day, he was here illegally. So goodbye, get out.
Bye-bye.
This is the one saving grace. This is the one saving grace that the right and Trump has in their favor. Even though I don't think Trump's first 100 days are filled with greatness, but we literally have the left championing MS-13 gang members and saying they need to be here in our country and this is their rightful home. And listen, you're not in a position to talk like that anymore. Your fear-mongering ways aren't really going to work anymore. So with that being said, Trump might not be succeeding the way we want him to, but the left is going to make sure they're going to lose another election.
They're fucking
I was
big
just
time.
Yeah. We're gonna fly down to El Salvador and we're gonna meet with MS-13 gang members. That's the photo op I want for my next campaign.
They were demanding El Salvadorian President Bukele send him back. And I remember Bukele's like, send him back. You're asking me, the president of another country, to send someone illegally to the United States who doesn't belong there. He's like, you understand that's what you're asking me to do, right? He's like, I can't actually do that.
Yeah.
That would be like human trafficking. He was basically saying. So yeah, it's ridiculous. Right. So yes, you're right, Cap. That's a great point. As many missteps as Trump seems to be having here, the Democrats are actually doing far worse. And I think that pivots very well into the second side of the coin here, in regards to like the stupid deportations that the Trump administration is doing. And there was a story also while we were kind of in a little bit of hiatus, about a Tufts student who has had her her student visa revoked. And her name is, sorry, I'm going to butcher her name. Her name is Rumizia Ozturk. And I'm going to read this article quick, and I'll get into the point I'm trying to make here. And then this is a recent article, and then I actually have her article that she wrote here just to show everybody with your own two eyes what she wrote for real. So it says, appeals court pauses Tufts students transfer to Vermont in immigration detention case. Federal appeals court has paused a judge's order to bring a Turkish Tufts University student from a Louisiana immigration detention center back to New England this week so he can consider an emergency motion filed by the government. The U.S. Second Court of Appeals, based in New York, ruled Monday that a 3-judge panel would hear arguments on May 6th in the case of Rumizia Ozturk. She has been detained for 5 weeks as of Tuesday. She has been in prison for 5 weeks for writing this article, which I will cover in a minute here. A district court judge in Vermont had earlier ordered the 30-year-old doctoral student be brought to a state. These websites are awful. For hearings, determine whether she was illegally detained. Ozturk's lawyers say her detention violates her constitutional rights, including free speech and due process. The Justice Department, which is appealing that ruling, said that an immigration court in Louisiana has jurisdiction over a case. Congress limited federal court jurisdiction over immigration matters. Government lawyers wrote, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so Ozturk was one of 4 students who wrote an op-ed in the campus newspaper, the Tufts Daily, last year criticizing the university's response to student activists demanding that Tufts acknowledge the Palestinian genocide, disclose its investments, and divest from companies with ties to Israel. A Department of Homeland Security spokesperson said in March, without providing evidence, that investigations found that Ozturk engaged in activities in support of Hamas, the U.S. designated terrorist group, as is always the excuse. Right now, Captain, I don't know if you can hear me, but remember when we played?
I heard most of you. The funny thing is when you said her name, it was just
yeah. So you remember?
I think I just saw an article.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so hold on. I know the delay's coming, so I'm just going to keep steamrolling through. Pretty sure as my router was resetting, I just saw an article that she might have just been released.
Okay, maybe. That'd be nice. I think it's insane that she's been in prison for 5 weeks for writing an article, in general. But I just want to make the point that, you know what, actually, hold on. Before I even make any more points on this, let's just go look at the article, right? Because, a lot of times everyone talks about the thing that happened that put someone where they are, but they never actually show you the thing itself. So I went and I looked, of course, as I do. It was hard to even find her article. Wasn't widely shared, probably on purpose, right? But I found it in the Tufts Daily, and it says President Kumar renewing calls for Tufts to adopt March 4th TCU Senate resolutions. On March 4th, the Tufts Community Senate passed resolutions, blah, 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 disclose its investments and divest from companies with direct or indirect ties to Israel. These resolutions were the product of meaningful debate by the Senate and represent a sincere effort to hold Israel accountable for clear violations of international law. Credible accusations against Israel include deliberate starvation and indiscriminate slaughter of Palestinian civilians and plausible genocide. Unfortunately, the university's response to the Senate resolutions has been wholly inadequate and dismissive of the Senate, the collective voice of the student body, graduate students, blah, blah, blah. We reject the university's response. Although graduate students were not allowed by the university into the Senate meeting, which lasted almost 8 hours, blah, blah, blah. While an argument may be made that I'm going to actually read most of this, just bear with me, folks. An argument may be made that the university should not take political stances and should focus on research and intellectual exchange. I agree. The automatic rejection, dismissive nature, and condescending tone in the university statement have caused us to question whether the university is indeed taking a stand against its own declared commitments of free speech, assembly, and democratic expression. Okay. I am going to skip ahead just a little bit. She's kind of taking issue with the university's conduct in the wake of like them protesting the war and whatnot. Let's see. Okay. The role of the TCU Senate resolutions is abundantly clear. The Senate's resolutions serve as a strong lobbying tool that expresses...
Just throwing in, I could still hear you. We're good.
Yeah, the Tufts administration she wants and needs of the student body. They speak as a collective voice and are instrumental in enacting systemic changes. In this case, the systemic changes that the collective voice of the student body is calling for are for the university to end its complicity with Israel insofar as it is oppressing the Palestinian people and denying their right to self-determination, a right that is guaranteed by international law. These strong lobbying tools are all more urgent now, given the order by the International Court of Justice, confirming that the Palestinian people of Gaza's rights are under Genocide Convention and are under a plausible risk of being breached. She goes on to reference how they've done this before regarding South Africa and apartheid. We reject the president's attempt to dismiss this. She cites a civil rights champion, James Baldwin, in a quote. This article was written by a few people, including Ramzia Ataturk. So that is the extent of her Hamas support. Her, in a sense, writing an article with a bunch of people saying
what a terrible person.
The Palestinians are being denied their individual rights. I mean, it sounds pretty fucking libertarian to me, that people deserve individual liberty and rights, and these people are being denied that while they're under bombardment all day long. And this is what, and okay, so let's come back to it here now, right? This is the thing that flagged her for deportation by the Trump administration. Now, let's compare the two scenarios. Garcia and Ozturk here. On the one hand, Democrats flew down to El Salvador to go help out the Abrego Garcia, an MS-13 illegal criminal who is in America. Ozturk has gotten zero support from the Democrats at all this entire time. A winning item, right? So think of it this way. It's a winner. Politically, it's a winner. She has been legitimately wronged. She's here on a visa the right way. You have a right to freedom of speech in the United States of America if you're here on a visa. You just do. Okay? The Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the amendments, they exist to limit the power of government, not to limit the power or to give power to people to do things. They exist to limit the power of government. So this is a winner, and the Democrats are not acting on it. They're just letting it go. Why is that? Why is that? Because they also are not going to ever do anything to upset the Israel lobby. They're just not at this point, especially in the wake of the past election. Like we're not touching it. We're not touching it. So that's where we're at. That is a major contradiction right there. It's a loser for Trump. It's a winner for the Democrats, and they are unable to touch it. They just can't because of the toxicity, I guess, that comes around it. They are beholden. And again, they just can't say what they want. Captain, what are your thoughts? You are frozen. I have no idea if you can hear me or not. I'll give you a second here to respond. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's actually pretty funny because you're super delayed. I'm hearing what you're saying, but then the video has to catch up, and your face just goes all fast on my side as it's trying to catch up to where you are. This is a home run for the left, but they're not smart enough to handle it. This is just another criticism I have of the Trump administration. In the administration, this would have never flown. This is the most un-American, America first thing you could do. A college student wrote an article. Oh no. How many people are going to read this Hamas promoting article? And how much change is it going to usher? Yeah. How much change is this going to usher into America? Because this one student wrote such a Hamas promotion that, we're all switching over. And they're not wrong either. Palestinians are getting fucked over. Israel is in violation of these civil rights acts and stuff like that. You know, this is where I see Trump failing in his first 100 days. There's no politicians that are being held accountable for election fraud or insider trading or all the other millions of things that these politicians should be held accountable for. But one college student is being held accountable because she wrote an essay that the president didn't like.
Which, like,
I mean, I could have 1942. Where are we living now?
Yeah, I could have written that essay, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, maybe not exactly the same way that she wrote it, but I could have. It could have been written from like a libertarian point of view. It absolutely,
you could have been on topic with it. Yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah, right. Like, I could have been things that I had said in the past, but you know, not,
so I see this. Yeah.
Go ahead. You see this what?
Yeah, I just see this as another failure of this administration. We're not focused on what's important. This undying and unwavering allegiance to Israel just makes me question it. And listen, guys, I'm pro-Israel here. I want them to just wipe out Gaza in one day, and then we can move on from this storyline. We can move on from this issue. Just give them what they want. They have too much power as it is already. So, I mean, I don't understand why one of the top 50 wealthiest nations in the world that is as militarized as Israel is genuinely having problems with a small nation the size of Rhode Island.
Not a nation.
You know, what a country, whatever the hell it is, filled with cavemen and Amazon bought drones.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I just want to also make a point. I was trying to make a point before we were having a little delay issue. A couple weeks ago, we played Marco Rubio talking about the other guy. I forget his name. I think his name is Mahmoud, who also got deported for similar thing. And like we kind of agreed a little bit with some of Marco Rubio's sentiment, but like the let's say like the most generous interpretation of what they're doing here is what he said. It's like, you do not have a right to come to the United States of America on a student visa and espouse views or do things that are against our national interests. Now we kind of, I would say, Cap, like we would probably agree with that statement or with that line of thinking in general.
Yeah.
Me and you, like if Ozturk here had come to the United States on a student visa and she's writing op-eds about how I'd like to impose Sharia law over the Constitution and that be the dominant culture of the United States, I'd say that's pretty antithetical to our national interests as American people, and she should be flung out of here on a catapult. That's not what she's doing, number one, right? Number two, Rubio and the team are conflating national interests with like federal government foreign policy, right? So our national interests to me are like the group of human beings that are American citizens that are living here, having good lives, you know, being successful and happy and keeping it that way. That's like our national interest. Our national interest is not war across the planet. That is federal government policy. So in a sense, what is just happening here is they found a loophole to just deport people who criticize federal government policy, but they're spinning it as like our national interest. Supporting Israel's genocide of Gaza is in our national interest. How? Make a case to me, please. We just covered this with Dave Smith and Douglas Murray. Make a fucking argument, please. Someone on the other side, make a case. How is that in our national interest? How is that the right thing to do? They never take on that argument. Why? Because it's not, and they have no argument. And if they were to try to actually make that argument, it would be laughed out of the building because their argument's going to boil down to what the Misfit Patriot said the other day, which is, I don't care how many dead kids we have to do in order to beat Hamas. Just because I don't give a shit. We just have to beat them.
Yeah.
That's the argument. That falls apart immediately. Yeah.
It's funny, if this show got any bigger, then we would be part of, we would be violating national interest and national security.
Oh, we are, baby. You best fucking believe it. We are all the time, no matter what the administration is.
But that leads me to question, like, if you took an elective on the Soviet Union in college, right? Soviet Union 101, and you wrote a paper about communism. Do I get thrown in jail now for being a communist?
I'll be honest with you, you might have back in the time, especially when McCarthy was running around with the Red Scare and whatnot. You might have, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't right. And it's not exactly, again, that's not what she was actually doing, though.
Yeah.
That's, again, I'm trying to give them like let's give them those generous interpretation of what they're trying to do here. Is what I'm trying to give them. But at the same time, that's not what she's actually doing. Like, facts and details actually do matter here.
Right, but I mean, still, we're talking about a college student who wrote a paper, who wrote a fucking article. It's not like the head editor.
Yeah,
I could see if the head editor of the Washington Post and the New York Times wrote this, maybe it would turn a few heads and bring some attention from the administration. But one college student, we're not using our resources wisely here.
Yeah, it's.
She's not changing the world. I mean, and for you to go after a college student who wrote an article in a paper, why aren't you going after MSNBC then? How many articles they wrote and all the lies they spread for the past 10 years, the fearmongering had done? You know what I mean? Now on my side.
Yeah, I couldn't hear who you were talking about, but I'm sure it was a good point. I'll just speak plainly, put a pin in this.
MSNBC.
MSNBC. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's a great point. Right. Like all the actual harm, selling the wars, like the lies that sell them. Right. And how many people die from those wars, from those lies? Like that's actual harm. In a sense, but I'll just put a pin in it here. This is just censorship. That's all it is. It's just at a different, targeted at a different thing, sold in a different way, repackaged at a different group of people. It's not right, and it's completely bullshit. It's a loser, and it's just interesting how the Democrats can't run with it. They just can't. It just kind of shows you the reality of the situation when it comes to how much influence Israel holds, or the Israel lobby holds over our political process, like RFK Jr. wasn't able to answer when Dave Smith asked him about it. Okay,
boy, it is.
Yeah, you are frozen in time there, Captain Iceman. I want to play one more video. There you go. I see you moving around now. You hear me?
All right. Yeah, I can hear you. I've heard you the whole time. It's just it's a nightmare over here.
Yeah. All right. One more quick video. Because unless you have any other thoughts, Capital, it's hard for me to get our thoughts out here. But I thought we could play one more quick video because, like, in the past 100 days with Trump as president compared to where we could be had he lost and the other team had won. So I thought it'd be wise to bring up our friends who lost to him, if you're ready for that. So, okay. This is our friend, Tim Walz, who did an interview the other day. And he was asked about him running in the campaign with Harris, and here's what he had to say.
I knew I was on the ticket. I would argue because we did a lot of amazing progressive things in Minnesota that improved people's lives. But I also was on the white guys watching football, fixing their truck, doing that I could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look, you can do this and vote for this. And you look across those swing states, with the exception of Minnesota, we didn't get enough of them. I knew I was on
the campaign to code talk to white guys and be the permission slip to get them to vote.
What an L7 weenie this guy is.
A rare moment of raw, pure honesty from a Democrat.
Yeah.
This is as best as you're going to get. He's being 100% honest. This is how they looked at it. This is how they viewed Tim Walz. We just need a white guy, right? So that who be marmy.
Who's dumber than Kamala.
The thing is, though, that doesn't work anymore. We all knew that already. I'm glad months later you've decided to just have a streak of honesty here. But we all knew that. We all knew what you were there to do when you were there with your old pickup truck that you were changing the oil on and posting a video about. I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing here. They're trying to identity politics. Look at me. I'm a normal human white dude just like you. You could vote for me. And then they sell you, a bag of goods down the river later after they've done that. But that doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't. Right? People could smell bullshit. People don't like that. They don't like being sold that phony fucking aspect of things. And it doesn't seem like they've actually learned that lesson. Just by how he's talking here, in my opinion, Cap, it does not seem like they've actually learned the lesson. It seems like they're just admitting that's the strategy, and it just didn't work this time, right? It just didn't work. So
Yeah,
they didn't have actually learned a lesson.
And hope as long as they don't learn this lesson, we are safe as a country because they're never going to win another election if they don't learn this lesson. With all that being said, though, I know our connection has been tough. I did want to surprise you with one question. I didn't get to talk to you about it before the show started because of no internet connection. This is a huge pop culture, a question sweeping pop culture. Can 100 men beat a gorilla?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I've seen this. I don't know what is about this question. It's definitely being pushed across all of social media. Absolutely,
Yes.
100 men could beat a gorilla. It doesn't mean that 70 of them are going to get killed, but 100 men, if they're put into a ring and they're like, look, this is it. You guys are not allowed to leave here until someone wins this. 100 men are going to throw their bodies on top of that gorilla, pin him down to the ground. They're going to punch him. They're going to get killed. People are going to be punching it to death. Eventually, the gorilla is going to be so exhausted, someone could just strangle her or something like that.
Dude.
Yeah.
So there is so much online. This has been my favorite thing in the world. This has been my dude. They are putting up battle instructions of a rotating defense to continuously attack it from behind. There are gorilla experts talking about, oh yeah, the first 25 guys are going to be turned into confetti, but killing 25 people with your bare hands, that gorilla is just going to get more and more exhausted and will eventually be overpowered. He's like, 70 people are probably going to die, but that last 20 are going to be victorious. That last 30, are going to be victorious in killing this gorilla. It is my entire algorithm right now. I can't think of anything more fun. I sat there at work yesterday like, man, I don't know. I think a gorilla would win. And then I'm starting to get facts, and I'm like, maybe people would win.
I wonder why it has. I wonder how it's like.
Isn't funny, that interesting?
It is interesting. Why has this concept or this thing been selected by the algorithm to be shown to everybody right now? I don't know. I don't even mean that there's any nefarious intent behind them. It's just maybe it is. Just
I'm just going. Yeah.
It might just be like it's just men.
And then
like,
people are like, "Who are the 100 men? Like, who are the 100 men? Is it the top 50 of the UFC? Is it the bloodline from WWE? Is Roman Reigns taking? Because then we can win if it's Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
I mean, want to make money, we get this thing going. We do something like that, right? Like we put the UFC and it's a combination, maybe UFC, WWE. We put this on TV. Yeah, it's gonna be gruesome. People are gonna die, but man, you can make a lot of money off of something like this. If everybody signs up for it. That, and I'll propose another thing.
And a poor gorilla is gonna.
So staying in the realm of this, you saw when Katy Perry and the female crew went up into space for 10 minutes on the Blue Origin space flight thing. And I know it's a whole conversation. Is it real?
I'm an astronaut.
I'm an astronaut. Is the Earth flat or is it real? Fuck Katy Perry and the crew. Jeff Bezos, let me pitch to you real quick. You want to make an interesting space shuttle launch mission that is going to have eyeballs glued to it? You get like Flat Earth Dave, Garrett Goldberry, Science Dave. Like you get like half of the team is all crazy flat earthers, and the other half of the team are like standard believers in established science. And you send them all up there with like live camera. Everyone gets their own camera that they could bring themselves. So there's no way that anybody could be like, it was fake or that person's controlled opposition or something like that. And you live televise that entire event and let's see what happens. That would be fucking awesome. If you want to sell Blue Origin, that's what Jeff Bezos should be doing, not Katy Perry and women power. It was, I was up there with women power or whatever it was that she was saying. That would be awesome. I don't know if Captain's still here. There he is. He's still smiling, still moving around.
Yep, their vaginas brought them up there.
I do have some tweets. I don't want to do them.
I got the gist of what you were saying. I don't know if it is. I mean, if I don't have any, that's why I brought up the gorilla argument.
Okay. That was your tweet.
I don't know how much internet, we're going to get through this, but if you want to do it, we're at the 1 hour mark. This has been torture for me.
Okay. Let's wrap it up on the tweets real quick. Cause there were a couple good ones and it's been a while so hang on 1 second. Let's do this the other way. Just cause there are no videos to share. At least I don't think there are. Okay. So my first one is by, who's this by? Chuck U. Farley, the Cooler King. and it's a picture of a cat pushing an F-35 Raptor off the edge of an aircraft carrier, which made me laugh. And why it made me laugh is because this actually happened in real life. An F-35 fell off one of the aircraft carriers the other day. There was the Harry Truman. That's part of the ongoing campaign against the Houthis, which I think is completely pointless. And funny meme in a real life scenario, but also let's add a little context. According to reports, the United States military has lost 7 multi-million-dollar drones in the Yemen area since March, resulting in losses exceeding $200 million for the Pentagon. Each drone is valued at approximately $30 million. On top of that F-35, which I think they cost, I don't know,
$1 billion.
$1 billion each,
Yeah.
that fell off the ship. And I think the ship was maneuvering because the Houthis were shooting something at the ship. So the ship took a hard turn. And for whatever reason, one of the planes wasn't tied down and fell off. So we're saving, Doge, baby. We're saving money, yet we're blowing hundreds of millions, billions now on the Houthis, right? Which is tied to the Gaza war and all that stuff. Yeah. All right. Next one is from the Misfit Patriot. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to stick with
Oh, my God.
But I couldn't not mention this one. So the Misfit Patriot, I don't know. This guy's being promoted by the algorithm or something like that lately, too. He says, I'm okay with as many dead kids as it takes to stop Hamas. I read the whole thing. I don't care what you say after that. If that's like what you're starting with in any argument, you've lost.
You lose
already. That's what Hamas would say. Right? I don't care how many dead Israeli children it takes to free Palestine from the grips of Israeli occupation. Right? Does that mean that we support that or we think that's good? No, of course not. Right? Yep. Go ahead.
Shit like this is why I just want Israel to solve this in a day, because we are at such a ridiculous point in this storyline, in this issue, in this problem, that we have people just straight up going, I don't care how many kids it kills, just kill all the kids, just kill all the kids. I mean, we have lost our way so deeply that it has gotten to this disgusting point where let's just get it over with. Rip the Band-Aid off as fast as possible.
I don't agree with the captain's policy, but I kind of see the point you've been trying.
I don't want anybody to die, but you know,
right? Maybe the I know you're kind of also doing it tongue in cheek, but like there's a harm reduction strategy at the end of the day. Like, man, this thing is turning people into just the worst evil supervillains of all time.
Yeah.
Like at some point, maybe there should be a cutoff where like it is better maybe for this to just stop somehow or another. This way, people just we stop turning each other into the worst versions of supervillains there are. Now I think we should do it the right way, but I kind of understand the logic maybe behind it.
It was kind of like when I was pro-nuclear weapons with Russia, you know, where nobody's going to understand what this proxy war means until Russia launches a nuke and it's too late. So, oh boy, I see Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
This is an episode in itself, the treatment of this man.
Okay, so someone is called Down South Patriot replies Thomas Massey, a post he made. And this kind of speaks to what I was saying earlier. And she goes, why are you always on the side of the opposition? You will be the villain in the history books. And Thomas Massey goes, because I'm opposed to wasteful spending, federal overreach, the swamp uniparty, and unconstitutional laws. Have a nice ratio. And he did ratio her in terms of likes. So I thought that was pretty funny.
You know, I honestly think Thomas Massey should just leave Congress and team up with somebody like Joe Rogan. And just like Joe Rogan, Massey, and like Tucker, and just cause as much chaos on the podcast circuit as possible, because he's in the right place. He's doing the right thing. I too oppose this wasteful spending, and obviously we oppose government overreach and the growth of the government. And now he's just being singled out as opposition, and it's just not the case. You know, and this is somebody, if we could just look through the weeds on this and like see things clearly, like, no, he's not the opposition. Like, he's actually like trying to do like America First shit, but like, because it doesn't line up, you know, with what Trump wants, he's the villain.
He's actually represents the things you all claim to stand for. He's just not willing to compromise on any of those things. And everyone's constantly trying to sell well, why we need to play 4D chess, why we need to compromise on this now. Now's not the time. Later is the time when we're going to actually go do all these things that we mean to do. And all those things are Thomas Massey-like things. And Thomas Massey is basically like us. No, I've had enough of being told, like, I got to wait till later. Later never comes with the United States federal government. It just never does. So he is in a position of power where he can throw a wrench in things, and he's just going to keep throwing the wrench. Thomas Massey reminds me of, or he is, our version of Ron Paul right now.
I thought you could say Ron Swanson.
No, he is Ron Paul. Like what Ron Paul was back in the 2000s during the terror wars and all the insane, stupid shit that was happening. That's what Thomas Massey is doing now. That's who he is now. Years in the future, we're going to look back at Thomas Massey. He's going to be like our Ron Paul. Ron Paul is like inspired a lot of people nowadays, and he's like this like hero. That's what Thomas Massey is. Just different.
I hope he's inspiring many more people.
Okay. One more tweet. You'll like this one, Captain. It's right up our alley. And it's by Matt Walsh. And he says, took some of my kids to see the Revenge of the Sith re-release in theaters. Hadn't seen it since it first came out. Even worse than I remembered. The worst dialogue I've ever heard in a mainstream Hollywood film. Abysmal action choreography. Not one good acting performance in the film. Truly a terrible pile of shit. An insult to the art of cinema. George Lucas should have been arrested.
Fuck you, Matt Walsh. As though it is. Which one did he say? It's the first one.
No, Revenge of the
Sith.
The last of the last of the three prequels that just was re-released in theaters like this past weekend.
Oh, it's the new ones. Yeah.
No. Revenge of the Sith.
For some reason,
the prequel.
For some reason, I thought he was talking about
Return of the Jedi, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly accurate.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, so I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
Those were really bad. The things have gotten so terrible in the new Star Wars Disney world that those actually look really good now to me. Those really bad 3 prequels, including Revenge of the Sith. So Matt Walsh hasn't watched any of the new shit that Disney has been making. So his like, he still has a really high bar when he's talking, when he's like watching Star Wars. The rest of us, I'm looking at like, I expect dog shit is what Disney's going to make now at this point. Anything slightly above dog shit.
I wish they would just stop expanding the universe.
Yes. Yeah. I am watching Andor.
I wish they would just stop expanding the universe. And
yeah. So, yeah, it's something special to watch your favorite franchises be deconstructed piece by piece down to nothing. That's where we're at. Okay. You want me to end it, Cap, since you're having difficulties? Or you got?
I had one final thing, and then we could end it. What is your score of Trump's A passing, F failing, whatever? Remember the report cards. Where do you think Trump lands? We got a doomed review of Trump's first 100 days in office.
Yeah. Is it a number review or is it a letter review, like a scorecard?
What do you want? You know what? We've done number reviews. Let's do number reviews.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 because that's all it is. It's just we're not making things worse, but we're also just not really making any fundamental changes that will improve things either. So it's nothing. Like, context being, if it was Kamala Harris, we'd be at like a negative 100, right? And we'd be marching down the road to hell. So judge it against that, and it's great. But it's not what I wanted so far. What do you?
Funny enough, that's why I'm giving it a 6. Because Kamala Harris and Tim Walz would have been a billion times worse. At least we secured the border.
Right. Yeah.
I voted for secure borders. I voted for deportation, stuff like that. At least we're getting some of that. So,
yeah,
that's 5.56 is where I'm at. But we really need some boys because we're dropping the ball.
September.
All right, sign us out because God knows I can't do it.
All right, Doom Nation. That is our episode. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're going to have more reviews coming up. Going camping. Probably going to be reviewing a couple cigars, a couple beers, maybe a projector. We will see how the weather complies with all that stuff. Going to be doing some more wrestling stuff in the future. That was a lot of fun. I don't know if we're going to be able to do a live stream of the Backlash event coming up, but I definitely want to do more live stream companion things on pay-per-view wrestling events. A lot of fucking fun that was. So keep an eye out for that. I think in general, Captain and I are still going to keep trying to do like one news episode a week, but like just the way life is working for both of us right now, it's not always possible. So we're going to be like transitioning into doing a couple other things where we can outside of the studio in this sort of format. Like, share, and subscribe. Adios.